Welcome to Learning Target 13D. We're looking at finding the volume of pyramids today. Okay, as a reminder, a pyramid is a three-dimensional solid. It has one base shape. The net for a pyramid might look something like this, where you have the single base in the middle, and then attached to each side of the base would be one of your triangular faces. So all the faces have to be triangles with the exception of the base. Now the base could be a triangle or it could be any other polygon. And again, each side of that base would be attached to a triangle that would then fold up and come together at that single vertex at the top. Okay, so the first thing I want you guys to think about is how do you think that the volume of a pyramid relates to the volume of a prism that has the same base shape and the same height? So in this picture you can see a prism, right? It's a rectangular prism. The base here, shaded in gray, is a square 4 by 4, and we have a height of 10. Okay, then next to it we have a pyramid, and the base shape is also a square 4 by 4, and our height is 10. So the question is, how does the volume of the pyramid relate to the volume of the prism? If I were to fill this pyramid up with water and dump it into the prism, how many times would I have to do that? Could I do it twice, 3 times, 4 times, 2.5 times? How many times would you be able to fill this pyramid and then dump it into the prism with the same base and height until the prism was full? Okay, so we're going to check out what happens when we try that out. Okay, so what we just saw was that you would have had to fill the pyramid 3 times and dump it into the prism with the same base and height in order to completely fill it. And so that means if the volume of the prism is 3 times bigger than the volume of the pyramid, then when we reverse that relationship, the pyramid is only 1/3 of the volume of the prism. And so that gives us our formula for the volume of a pyramid, which is 1/3 times the area of the base times the height. So if you remember back, for volume of a prism, it was just the area of the base times the height. So we're going to do that same thing, only now we only need 1/3 of that total. So 1/3 volume of the base times the height. Okay, so let's try a few examples. All right, this first one we're looking at a square pyramid. So that means that our base shape is a square. We have a height going from the middle of the base straight up to that top vertex of 9 inches. And so when we think about our formula, 1/3 area of the base times the height, the first thing we want to do is calculate the area of the base. So since this is a square, the area of the base is going to be 8 times 8, which is a total of 64. The height we said was going to be 9, and so now we have all the stuff we need to plug in. So I'm going to plug in 1/3, and then for B, I'm plugging in 64, and for H, I'm plugging in 9. Okay, on your calculator, the easiest way to type this in is going to be to multiply 64 times 9, and then to take 1/3 of that, you can just divide by 3. So 64 times 9, divide by 3, and we end up with 192 cubic inches. Again, we're doing volume, so it should be cubic units. All right, let's try another one. Okay, this time we're looking at a rectangular pyramid. So our base shape is a rectangle, not a square. And we still want to use our same formula, so 1/3 area of the base times the height. Okay, take a moment. I'd like you to calculate the area of the base. So just do that one calculation for the area of that base rectangle. Okay, so you should have done 20 times 8, which would give you a base area of 160. Okay, the height of this pyramid then would be 15 meters. And so as we plug in, we've got 1/3 times 160 times 15. Again, you can type into your calculator 160 times 15, get that total, and then divide that by 3 to take 1/3 of it. And we're going to end up with 800 cubic meters. All right, let's try another one here. Okay, this time we're going to look at a right triangular pyramid. Okay, so this time the base shape is a right triangle. And so when we think about finding the area of a triangle, we know we want to do 1/2 the base times the height. And we know that the base and the height have to meet at a right angle. And so when we look at just the base here on the bottom, we're going to use 5 and 12 as the base and height of the triangle itself. So to get the area of just the triangle on the bottom, I'm going to do 1/2 of 5 times 12, which is going to give me a total of 30. Okay, the height of the pyramid is going to be 10 feet. And so I'm plugging into my same formula. Volume equals 1/3 area of the base times the height. So it's 1/3 times 30 times 10. Do 30 times 10 and then divide it by 3, and we should get 100 cubic feet. Okay, and let's look at one more example here. All right, this time we have a more complex 3D solid. It's actually a rectangular prism, and then on top of that we have a pyramid. If I want the volume of that whole thing, that means I'm going to have to find the volume of the prism itself, and I'm going to have to find the volume of the pyramid, and I'm going to have to add it together to get the total. Okay, so I set up a new formula here where I do 1/3 the area of the base times height. I'm going to call it height 1. So this part is for the pyramid, right? So I need the area of the pyramid base, I need the height of the pyramid. Plus, I'm going to add to that the volume of the prism, which I'll need the area of the base for the prism, and I need the height of the prism. We'll call that height 2. Okay, so what we should notice though is that the base of your pyramid is actually the same as the base of the rectangular prism. So we can just do that calculation one time and then plug it into both spots. So for that rectangle that's either on the bottom of the pyramid or the bottom of the prism, what would that area be? Okay, I'm hoping that you did 10 times 60 and got a total, or sorry, 10 times 6 for a total of 60 for the area of the base. Okay, the height of the pyramid. What is the height of the pyramid? Okay, hopefully you said 9 millimeters. And what is the height of the prism for height 2? Okay, hopefully you said 7 millimeters. All right, so now it's just a matter of plugging everything in. So I'm going to do 1/3 times the area of the base, which is 60, times height 1, which is 9, plus the area of the base, which is 60, times height 2, which is 7. All right, so on your calculator, we have to do two separate things. So first we're going to do 60 times 9 and then divide by 3 to get 1/3 of it. Then separately, we're going to do 60 times 7. And our last step is we're going to add those two numbers together. So for the pyramid, we had a total volume of 180 cubic millimeters. For the prism, we have a total of 420 cubic millimeters. And when we add it together, we get 600 cubic millimeters for our total volume. Okay, so last thing, please record something that you learned or were reminded of and any questions that you might have. So try to put one thing down for each, and thanks for watching.